Hi everyone. So my textile origin story begins in Cleveland, Ohio. I was going to the Cleveland Institute of Art with the intention of becoming a graphic design major, and I ended up taking an intro to fiber class where I learned how to dye wool. And I remember our first project, it was felting, and we were using chemical dyes at the time, but I remember falling in love with like watching these clouds of like woolly fluff like taking up color. And at the time I was like really obsessed with like mint greens and bubblegum pink, so I remember like making these giant clouds of these colors and just absolutely falling in love with like the materiality of it. And then I became a fiber major, much to my parents' dismay, although now they're supportive of it. But yeah, from there, like I went on to learn how to weave as a fiber major. And at the time I was like really stressed out about it. I was like, this is just taking so long. But it wasn't until many years later that I think I really, like, textiles became my life passion. Like I utterly fell in love, like my spirit fell in love. And it was because of like two really big things, I think. And one was the discovery of the way weaving and textile practices in general, but specifically weaving, is used throughout every single peoples and cultures in the world. And so finding the different ways, like doing all this research and finding out different ways of how people have created cloth, essentially, and embedded their own spiritual meanings or their own mythologies and stories into this cloth. It's just so mind-blowing, and I still am baffled by it like over and over again every day. And then the other part was really learning how to grow my own dyes, and that happened in Montreal when I was in grad school. I was with a cohort of two women who had farming backgrounds and I had never farmed, and they were like, oh, you're into natural dyeing? Why don't we grow our own? And I was like, what? You can do that? And I mean, this was a long time ago, before I think YouTube really existed. So yeah, that was when I learned how to grow my own dyes, and really, from seed to cultivation to application, having that relationship with pigment and with color completely changed the way my relationship to textiles, as well as my relationship to the land and to plants, and therefore the peoples on them.